fence expert. Who's that guy in that orange shirt? Who must be the fence expert? It's almost time to talk about the fences. It's time to discuss operations and expenses. It's time, it's really time to elevate small businesses. It's time for Joe to drop his knowledge, it's relentless. This rhyme of mine is getting a bit ridiculous. Here we go, we're live with Joe. Enjoy the show.
Now, Jim, we just wrapped up an incredible interview. Top three things that I heard, I'd like to get your feedback on. The first one is over 180,000 square foot?
Yeah, gross in that hall. Absolutely.
Unreal. Over 300 vendors, which is what I think we said 93%.
Yeah, absolutely.
Unreal. We're 5-6 weeks out. So guys, lots of vendors, tons of square footage. If you are a vendor and you haven't scheduled sponsorship yet, Jim also has a way to get several thousand of the attendees through your booth during the duration of the show.
Yeah, and that's the that's the passport to products that you'll see more about in this interview. Absolutely.
Guys, with all that being said, let's get into it. All right, Jim. So we're here to talk about FenceTech 2025 in Salt Lake City this year. Now, before we get into the meat and potatoes here, let's start with just a general overview. Maybe what is FenceTech 2025 and who should plan on attending?
Sure. FenceTech 2025 is the annual conference and convention of the American Fence Association. It's the largest and premier event in the fence industry. It's the largest event of its kind. You're going to meet more people, make more connections, and get your hands on more product in 1 week than anywhere else.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think those people. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say a quick note. So not only fencing contractors, right? But I talked to a lot of guys that are thinking about getting into fencing. I would argue this is probably the show to come to just to see if it's for you, to see who you be interacting with and who the vendors are, that sort of thing. Also, we'll get to it, but there's also an education component to where you can really hit the ground running.
Absolutely. We've got, I want to say 40 different educational sessions over 3 days. It's really, really good stuff.
Absolutely. Now, let's talk about why really quick. So I'm a fencing contractor. Maybe I haven't been to Fence Tech before. Why should I attend? I think we covered it a little bit, but let's put a finer point on it. Why should I attend Fence Tech 2025 in Salt Lake City?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's why attendees come to trade shows, wherever they are, whatever the industry is. You come to grow your business. And you do that through making connections, going to education, and just continuing after the event. Keep those connections, and you'll grow your business.
Absolutely. We talk about that a lot. There's a tremendous value on the show floor. There's a tremendous amount of value in the education, but there's also a tremendous amount of value just in the interactions in between those things, before and after, is the personal contacts you make, the friends for life that you meet. I mean, I can remember meeting a lot of the individuals I met at my first Fence Tech, which was Fence Tech San Antonio. So it's been a few years ago, but that was my introduction. I'd been in the fencing industry. I've never been to a Fence Tech. And you want to talk about eye-opening into just what this industry, how big this industry is and what it can be. And again, just the interactions. I still keep up with these guys on a week-to-week basis. That all started at a Fence Tech.
That's great. That's what it's all about.
It is. So let's talk about Fence Tech itself. So mid-year meeting, right afterwards, we poked our heads in the convention hall there at the Salt Palace. Jim, this room is big. It is huge.
Yeah, it is. It's I want to say it's about 180,000 square feet net. Gross.
Golly, 180,000 square foot. That's a big room. Yeah. That's a heck of a room. Now, I didn't get my measuring tape out, but it also seemed a little bit bigger than Nashville.
Yeah, it's just a hair bigger than the space we used in Nashville.
Unreal. And I remember walking into Nashville, looking around and, kind of pulling like a Beverly Hillbillies going, golly, look at the size of this. That seemed like a big room. But then, like I said, walking into Salt Palace, I was like, well, we found a room that was bigger somehow. And it's filling up quickly, it sounds like, in terms of vendors.
Yeah, I think we're about 93% sold out right now, about 325 exhibiting companies. No
kidding. Yeah. And we're still, 6 weeks out?
Yes.
So we've got, it's around the corner, but we still got a little bit. So, when I hear 93%, I hear there's still about 7% left. So right. If someone's watching that may be a new product or maybe new to the industry that hasn't gotten involved yet, it sounds like there's still space for them to get involved.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we can sell anything from a 10 by 10 to a 20 by 50 booth.
Okay. All right. So excellent. So it sounds like a really good way to get into it. Like a nice 10 by 10 booth, just to get into the industry, figure out what it is. Or if you want to come in with a bigger booth, those are obviously available as well.
Absolutely.
Now, so talking about exhibitors, there's probably a lot of exhibitors that we already know in the industry. Can you name a few that we'll plan on seeing there in 2025?
Sure, absolutely. And there's a ton of exhibitors that I could mention, but
sure. This show would be a lot longer if we went through all 300 plus.
Absolutely. So our platinum level sponsors, we've got Ameristar, D&D, Door King, Catalyst, Liftmaster, and then I know those are all household names.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the list goes on from there.
Sure. Yeah, but those are names that everybody knows. And guys, that's kind of the fun part too, is seeing the vendors year after year that you made contact with last year, maybe used the product a few times. Now this is a great time to renew that relationship. Or what I really like is going to see the vendors that I've seen, that I've had relationships with, that my dad and granddad had relationships with, see them year on year. And it's kind of like a family reunion of sorts for the fencing industry.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, these networking events, and like you said earlier, not only on the show floor, not only at the networking events, in the hallways, you see the people who've known each other for decades, just reconnecting and talking and having a good time.
What's funny is, so it was in Nashville last year. I was talking to a vendor that's, I don't know, they're a few hours away. We've never really done business with them, and we'd always been missing each other. Either they would call and I'd go to return the call, and we'd missed calls 4 or 5 times, and we ended up seeing each other in the hallway saying, okay, do you have 5 minutes? Because I've got 5 minutes. Like, let's have this conversation. And we talked about, we ended up trading a little bit of business, and we laughed about the fact we're only a handful of hours apart, but we had to come all the way to Nashville to have this conversation when, I mean, we're kind of in each other's backyards. But that's really the way that happens.
It really is. It really is. And, it's a lot cheaper to have all of those conversations, those multiple conversations, than it is to go take those individual trips out.
You're not kidding. That's probably one of the hacks I'd tell people is reach out to either your current vendors or the potential vendors that you'd like to see now. I mean, now that we're still 5 or 6 weeks away, and say, hey, I'm going to be at FenceTech, to the salesperson. Are you going to be there, or is there somebody there that I could schedule a time to sit down and just have a conversation with, rather than, because what I see happen, Jim, a lot of times is people wait to have those conversations till they're on the show floor. But you walk into one of these booths, especially if it's one of the premier vendors, one of the vendors is just, and they're packed, right? There's 40, 50 people in a booth, all kind of milling around, catching up. And it's hard to have that one-on-one conversation when this person, this contact is trying to have 2 or 3 of these conversations at once. So anyway, a hack would probably be try to reach out now and schedule those either before or after show floor hours.
Absolutely. I mean, that's the number one piece of advice I give anyone who's attending a trade show, even exhibiting. Plan your time there ahead of time. Reach out to those people, make appointments, time to get together and have that conversation, whether it's in the booth or afterwards or whatever. But yeah, planning is the most important thing.
Well, and you want to reach out too, because a lot of the vendors will have after hours events, so they'll have offsite type events too, to see, just to see if they are having one and see if you might be invited to one of these, because these events, those offsite events, just as much value as there is, like I said, on the show floor and the education, the after hours component, there's a tremendous amount of value there as well.
Absolutely.
Now, let's say you'd like to get in front of these fencing contractors. There's going to be thousands of contractors in one place at one time. Let's talk about sponsorship opportunities. Are there still sponsorship opportunities to be had to get in front of these fencing
Absolutely.
contractors?
Yeah. We definitely have a handful left, and one of the most popular ones that people always go for is the passport to products. Basically, it's our version of a scavenger hunt on the trade show floor, where you'll have to come to your booth, speak to your booth staff, and then get them to sign their card so they can put into a drawing to win a prize.
When we're doing home shows or lawn and garden shows, whatever, I can't tell you, I fight tooth and nail to get on those, the bingo cards or whatever you want to call them, because like you said, you've got every person interested, because there's usually some pretty sweet giveaways involved. People are really interested in getting involved with this. So you've got unrestricted access to these people, because it's not always just stamp the card and move on. While that can be part of it, there are usually a lot of conversations that go on in, around having that card stamped.
Sure. And that's always going to happen,
Sure.
But, those conversations that are important are really just worthwhile and make that sponsorship.
Yeah, if nothing else, you're making time to be in that booth, right?
Correct.
And so for that vendor, I mean, the opportunity to have several thousand people guaranteed to come through the booth, maybe not guaranteed, but have a good shot at having several thousand people come through the booth, the ROI on that has to be crazy.
Right. Exactly.
So one thing too is well, let's talk about what other sponsorship. What would be a good entry level sponsorship for someone to get into? Maybe they're an exhibitor, but they haven't looked at sponsorships. Would that be one, or would there be another good option, kind of an entry level option to get into?
Yeah, that is probably the entry level sponsorship.
Okay.
We do have floor stickers. If you could put your logo on a vinyl logo on the floor in your aisle, but the passport to products is $1,000 sponsorship, and then we have everything up. It goes up to like $10,000. But we've got coffee breaks on the show floor
Nice.
that are kind of mid range. So
Sure.
we still have a variety of things.
Man, those floor stickers are effective. Let me tell you, because a lot of times vendors, if they're smart, they'll use them to kind of direct people to their booth, right? And let me tell you, it's even with a map, it's easy to get lost in these places. Like we said, it's over 180,000 square feet with booths and aisles and all that. So it's not as easy as like looking around going, oh, hey, there's so-and-so. Let me go have a conversation with them, or having a map. Those floor stickers, a lot of times I'll use those as references. Like, oh, okay, this is where I'm trying to go. Well, I'll follow the stickers to the booth situation. They can be effective is, I guess, the point I'm making.
Absolutely. And, it's not, you've got your booth space and this is, down the hall, and now you know where you're going.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I can't tell you, I can't tell you how many times I wish vendors had used those, because usually what I'll do ahead of time. So we'll come in a couple days before and I'll mark up the map on who I want to go see. Here's my top 10 vendors I'd like to see this trip. Invariably, one or two I have the hardest time finding. I know they're right here. I'm looking at the map. I'm here. They've got to be right here. And then I probably have walked past them 4 or 5 times, and there's usually a crowd, and you don't really notice it. Anyway,
Right.
Floor stickers, vendors, if you're listening, floor stickers are incredibly effective. From someone that attends these shows, please use more floor stickers. Now, Jim, are there sponsorship opportunities available? Maybe if someone isn't having an exhibit, if for non-exhibitors.
No, not at this time.
Okay.
Basically, you have to be an exhibitor to become a sponsor. The
Makes
one
sense.
caveat would be the snowboards, the custom snowboards, but
Okay.
the deadline for that just passed.
Gotcha. Well, but just a note for 2026, which is in Indianapolis, there's a very early plug that there typically are 1 or 2 sponsorship opportunities, for non-exhibitors, but you got to get in early. And actually, speaking of those opportunities, this was Nashville's. This was the 2024 exhibitor, or the sponsorship opportunity for non-exhibitors, which was a guitar. Very handy, very slick.
I was going to ask you about that. So that is the one
Yep.
that you customized for?
Yep.
Nice.
Absolutely, hung right on the wall. And yeah, so if you watch the show consistently, this spot will change in the coming months, and this will be a snowboard. We've already got the mounting hardware and everything for it. So you can see it at FinTech 2025, or you'll also see it for the next year here in the show background. But it's going to be a snowboard. It's going to, Jim, I tell you what, these are nice snowboards. They
They
slick.
are. They're actually rideable. So you can take them on the slopes, or keep them on the wall, give them to a customer, whatever you want to do.
Yeah, unfortunately, the slopes here in Missouri are not like premium ski resort level. Actually, we don't have any in our area. So on the wall it will go, but it's good to know in the back of my mind, if I need to, we can pull it off the wall and go skiing or go snowboarding. That's one thing that people are surprised. This guitar, it's actually a really nice guitar as far as playing. We've got some guys here that play musical instruments, and they're like, "Hey, would you mind?" I am not the one. I can't do anything musically at all. I was like, "Hey, see if you can't tune this thing up and strum a few things on it." Sure enough, works like a charm.
Oh, that's really good to know. I didn't realize that.
So it's an added benefit. But yeah, so 2025 spots are sold out, but 2026, just put it in your mind now that if you're not an exhibitor but you'd like to get in front of attendees, you got to get in early. But there usually is some sort of opportunity like that.
And you could even pick up the phone, drop me an email, or and let me know now that you want to get in for 26.
Perfect. Yep, that would be the best idea, because if you're like me and you go to sleep tonight, you forget half of what you knew today. Get that in now, because I'm not saying I almost forgot about the snowboards, but I definitely almost forgot about the snowboards until you had sent the reminder email like, "Hey guys, the deadline's coming up, just in case you haven't remembered." Like, oh yeah, that's good. We ought to do that. But so the snowboards will be at the pre-party, right? They'll be on display at the pre-party, but then also throughout the week. Is that right?
Absolutely, yeah. They'll be at the entrance to the Pickets and Peaks party. So they'll be up all week.
I'm so excited about that. Let's talk about timing for just a second. I know we're talking about exhibitors, we're talking about sponsorships, but as far as timing goes, really, I mean, everything kicks off. Well, I mean, technically, things kick off Monday with the Leadership Academy or Leadership Conference. Tuesday starts the education series. Tuesday morning at what, 8 a.m.
8 a.m. Mm-hmm.
And then we're off to the races at Tuesday all day, Wednesday morning, and then it'll go up to the keynote.
On Wednesday, yeah. Up until the keynote's over. Then it goes into the trade show, 12:40 p.m. On Wednesday. The show doors open.
Perfect.
And then we're off to the races.
Now, I tell you what, guys, if you're watching this, the keynote, stay tuned. Next week, we're going to have an interview with Bobby Batchelor and Van Morris talking about the keynote. You guys aren't going to want to miss this. I'm not going to ruin the episode for you next week, but you're not going to want to miss the keynote. Jim, how does this happen to where each year the keynote, it seems like it keeps ratcheting up? Like, I don't know how far this thing can go, but every year, it seems like every year at the end of the keynote, I leave thinking, there's no way we're doing better than this. Like, I don't know what they're going to do next year. And then this year comes along and I have this conversation. I'm like, well, they've done it again. I don't know how this keeps happening.
I mean, that's the goal, right? You always have to improve, be better than you were last year, because the minute you become worse than you were last year, well, then you got a problem.
True. Well, I mean, bravo to the committee, bravo to the board of finding these keynote speakers every year. But like I said, you guys aren't going to want to miss the conversation we have next week. Quick plug for the show there. When we're talking about timing, so education starts Tuesday morning, leadership on Monday. I mean, it sounds to me like, if possible, attendees need to plan on coming in Monday to make sure they're ready for education Tuesday morning.
Yeah, if they're getting the education package, then yeah, they should fly in on Monday because you got a full schedule Tuesday and Wednesday, Thursday.
Absolutely. Yeah, and then so show floor opens midday Wednesday, so we've got keynote, opening ceremonies, which is always a good time, and then show floor opens to the attendees Wednesday, you said 12:40?
12:40 p.m. Mm-hmm.
And then throughout the day, and then all day Thursday, and then Friday morning. Is that right?
Friday morning, it's the show floor hours on Friday morning, 10 to 1.
Perfect. So really, I mean, if you can, I mean, I would suggest coming in Monday, leaving Saturday if you can, or if nothing else, Friday evening. I know us particularly, we're planning on coming in Monday morning and leaving Saturday, just so that we can have the full effect, right? So you can see all the education,
or stay to enjoy Salt Lake City.
Well, that's true. Make it a really long weekend, because I tell you, that's one thing that kind of we were impressed about mid-year is just how much there is to do in the area. I mean, I always think about snow sports, and there's a lot of that. I mean, there's snow there already, but there's just so much to do both in Salt Lake City and this surrounding area. You could pretty easily make a weekend of it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a gorgeous place.
Now, also, let's talk about just logistics maybe of Salt Lake City, because that's another thing that kind of got impressed on me is hotels. I didn't count them all, but there's about 1 million hotels right around the convention center. It's just the convention center and then a ring of hotels just all the way around, it seems like. And the thing I noted was, I mean, it's everything from Hyatt Regency to Holiday Inn Express. Not to say anything about Holiday Inn Express, but it's and everything in between, right? So whatever your budget, there's a place for you. Also, whatever loyalty, if you're in a loyalty program, hotel loyalty program, it seems like all the major brands were there as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, our ops team does a really good job of getting a great hotel package and making sure that there's something at every different price point.
And then transportation. So sometimes Well, I'll tell you my perspective, and this is not everyone's, but so a lot of times we'll end up getting Airbnb because we'll take a team with us, and then we'll end up renting a vehicle to drive around in. This is the first year where I said, no. Like, there's hotels right here. No, there's no sense in staying further away for more money. We'll stay closer and save money. But also ground transportation. I mean, the public transportation system in this city is incredible.
Yeah, no, it truly is. It's easy to get to and from the airport. It's easy to get around this city. It's highly walkable. Yeah, it's a great little town.
Well, when we flew in for mid-year, the hotel pickup line, there were so many shuttles there. It seems like every hotel has their own, I would bet. But so no matter where you're staying, I mean, check with them to be sure. But no matter where you're staying, there's likely a shuttle to get you to the hotel. And then once you're there, everything is walkable. I mean, the convention center is there, but also your restaurant, your shopping is across the street. All of the dining is right there. All the entertainment is right walkable. At that point, I said, we don't have to have a rental. I mean, one less expense for the trip. We can walk anything in it. If whatever we can't walk, again, there's public transit across the street, right through the mall, and it will bring you up and down the foothills. It'll take you to wherever you're wanting to go.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's an easy place to get around.
I love it. I love it so much. So easy to stay, no matter where you want to stay. It's easy to get around. Everything's there. So let's talk about snow for a second, because I think that's one of the things one of the most common, comments I hear is about, well, it's February in Salt Lake City. Fair. However, this is also Salt Lake City, where they deal with snow half the year. Maybe not half the year. That's being exaggerating a bit. But the lady we were talking to said something to the effect of, it could snow 20 inches overnight, and we would have the sidewalks and the roads clear by the time you guys need to walk into the convention center the next morning. Like, that's just, they trade in cleaning snow and making things walkable.
Right. I grew up in Dallas, and, no offense to Dallas or anyone from Dallas, but, you get some snow flurries and the city shuts down.
Sure.
But Salt Lake City, they're used to it. They know how to deal with it. They know how to take care of it. So, yeah.
Well, I mean, Nashville in 24, it had snowed, a little bit of ice early in the week. So if you showed up early, it was still a little bit of a mess. So they were still trying to figure out how to clear everything up. Didn't take away from the event, obviously, but it was, if you were out on the town, it was a bit of an issue. I think Salt Lake City would look at that and kind of chuckle and have it all cleared out in about an hour, probably.
Right.
But don't let that be a thought. Like I said, we're flying in Monday because sometimes connecting flights can be problematic. So give yourself extra time to get there. But once you're there, the city just knows how to handle winter weather.
Right. They absolutely do.
She was telling us a couple times a year, the surrounding area gets tremendous amount of visitors in. Something like 30,000 people twice a year come to the area for religious services, that sort of thing. Okay. And her point was, listen, if we can get 30,000 people in and out, give them places to stay efficiently and make it, we've been doing this for a long time, you guys will be fine. I promise. Like, we will get you in and out without a problem, and you will have a great experience, which that made me feel quite a bit better as well.
Good. Yeah, I've done about 5 shows over my lifetime in Salt Lake City at the Salt Palace. Never had a problem.
No, it's a great facility. It really is. It really is. So, Jim, let's recap a little bit. So we've got all the space we could ever need, 180,000 plus-ish square foot. 93% of it sold. So the vast majority is full. But hear me when I say there's a little bit of space left. So if someone, for whatever reason, hasn't gotten in touch with you yet, there's still time. What do you think? I mean, obviously there has to be deadlines to getting all this done. What does a deadline look like as far as if somebody hasn't reached out yet, but they're still interested? How close are we to that deadline?
I'll be honest with you. It's happened in Nashville and Oklahoma City. Somebody walked up on show site during move-in and asked me if we had any space, and I sold them a booth, and they had their stuff right there and moved right in. So if we still have space, then feel free to give me a shout. But it's better to have a little bit of prep time. So
Sure. Yeah. I couldn't imagine the nerves it would take. Like, I would be a nervous wreck, like taking everything with me. Like, well, I hope they've got a spot.
Yeah.
But it should someone have that thought, maybe there'll be space available. But
Right.
at 93% full, I wouldn't gamble with like that. I mean, there's a chance we get to 100 and there's no space available.
Absolutely. So, it's better to reach out. If you think you're going to want to exhibit, reach out to me.
Absolutely. So, and still sponsorship opportunities available, so that if you do have a booth, or maybe even if you don't have a booth, one, get with Jim on getting a booth, but then two, just know that there are also sponsorship opportunities available still.
Absolutely.
Very good. Yeah. So we're only 5 or 6 weeks out, which, is right around the corner. We're going to blink and it's going to be on us, I promise. So make your plans to attend now, whether you're an exhibitor or an attendee. You should be making plans to attend now. Now, Jim, everything I've heard says pre-registration is already well ahead of last year. Does that sound about right?
Yeah, that's about right. It's the pre-reg numbers, they're ahead of Nashville, which is
incredible.
Yeah.
And Nashville was a great year. One of the things that I still remember is it was probably the last hour of one of the days. They all kind of blend together. And the show floor was still pretty full, which if you've been to a trade show, usually that last hour can be hit or miss. I mean, people are heading out to dinner or who knows where they are, but they're not on the show floor. In Nashville, the end of the show actually snuck up on me because I looked at my watch. I was like, guys, we're only 20 minutes away from the end of the show today, and we're still looking at a half full show floor, which is kind of unusual, to be honest with you. But so anyway, heck of a year. So if pre-registration is ahead, I mean, it makes me feel warm and fuzzy about what we're going to see this year. I mean, I would say it's shaping up to be a heck of a year.
Absolutely. Yeah, we're very pleased with those numbers.
Absolutely. So let's briefly plug next year. So I guess we are in 2025. So Salt Lake City is this year now. Next year, Indianapolis.
Right.
Also going to be a great destination. So put it on, if you're a vendor, put it on your calendars. Like while you're in Salt Lake City, have a conversation with Jim about 2026 in Indianapolis as well.
Absolutely. It's going to be a great show there too. We've been there before and had a great turnout.
I love it. Indianapolis is Salt Lake City. I've never been to a conference. So the last conference, Salt Lake City, I had a conflict with and I couldn't attend. Never been there. Now Indianapolis, I've been to a few shows in Indianapolis. They're a good amount of fun. They're a good time for sure. Easy to get in and out. Salt Lake's easy to get in and out of too. But so the next few are going to be shows you're not going to want to miss. Again, if you're planning on attending, schedule now. I mean, that way go ahead and make your plans. We actually just booked our airfare over the weekend. I looked at the calendar and I said, we'd better get on this now. I plan to get there Monday, if you can, Monday midday, head out Saturday or later. If you want to make a weekend out of Salt Lake City, you absolutely could. But now one thing I guess I should say here though too, Jim, is if you can only spare a day or two, which is understandable, then, I mean, still make plans to attend. I mean, I think you can still get a tremendous amount of value out of 1, 2, 3 days. It'll be like drinking out of a fire hose, but you can still get a tremendous amount of value.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have to get the full package. If you get the education package, that includes all of the education, Tuesday, Wednesday. But you can always just get an exhibits only badge if you're only able to attend the trade show. That does include the Pickets and Peaks opening night party on Tuesday night, which is
I love it.
It's going to be a tremendous event.
Yeah. So if you could only plan on 2 days, maybe it's Tuesday, Wednesday. That way you still get education. You can still get in on education. Pickets and Peaks you can still attend. Again, education Wednesday morning. Do not miss the keynote. You're not going to want to miss this one. And then also you can catch the first day of the trade show as well.
Absolutely.
Sounds like a heck of a plan. Now, Jim, if someone's wanting to get in touch with you about maybe scheduling an exhibit space or, arranging for an exhibit space or arranging for sponsorship, how do they get in touch with you?
You can either give me a call or send me an email. My phone is 314-561-6717. And my email is really easy. It's jim@AmericanFenceAssociation.com.
Doesn't get easier than that. Guys, like I said, reach out to Jim. If you haven't exhibited at the Fence Tech in the past, you want to get involved in this, I promise. If you guys follow the show at all, so Tony was on a few weeks ago talking about the economic outlook of the fencing industry. It is growing leaps and bounds over the next decade. This is a time for you to get in front of the industry before it grows that leaps and bounds for the next decade. It's a great time to get in. So please reach out to Jim if you'd like more information. Jim, thank you so much for making yourself available for this conversation. I really appreciate it.
Of course, Joe. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Of course. Guys, for now, Joe Everest, the fence expert, reminding you that good fences make good neighbors, and I'll catch you next time.